Hi everyone. It's nice to see some familiar faces here today and some new ones as well. Hi to those online. I know there's a bunch of people following online today. My name is Jessica Olivieri and I'm honoured to be here today with you. I'm the co-artistic director of UTP based in Bankstown and I'll be your MC today. For this beautiful event, access ideas and insights, co-design in practice. If you need to leave the space for any reason today, if you're here with us in person, then please feel free to make your way to the door left of stage, which is your right, and the front of house team will help you exit the space. The bathrooms are back into the foyer. And feel free to do that, move and do whatever you need. This is a safe space for all of us. Before I go any further, I would like to invite Daniel MacDonald to open the event with a welcome to country. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me here today. Oh, it's a bit cold today, isn't it? A bit chilly, but on we go. If everything's okay, let's get started. I would like to do my acknowledgement and welcome to country. My name is Daniel and I'm a deaf Aboriginal man, and my family, my history and my genetics all come from the northern area. I am an artist, I am an actor, and I am a representative for the Metropolitan Local Area Aboriginal Land Council. I am here to represent the amazing lands that we come from today and welcome you all to Gadigal land. I pay my respects to all of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, the elders, past, present and emerging. I would also extend a warm welcome and acknowledgement to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander brothers and sisters in attendance today. Whether it's you or whether it's somebody that is a First Nations, whether you are an Aboriginal, a brother, a sister, you are all welcome here today. Together, as we come together, we are one. We are one as a community, and we bring together all of our insights, all of our information to the amazing Gadigal land. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. And today, I would like for all of us to come together and unite and commemorate, one moment, and commemorate the thousands of years that we have of Indigenous land, Indigenous heritage, arts, concepts, art, Songsmiths, as we are here today. Thank you all again for inviting me here. I'd like to welcome you all to Gadigal, and I hope that you really enjoy today's discussions and insights and celebrate the amazing work that is on exhibition today. Thank you all today. I would also like to share a story of mine, that we are all golden. We are golden. As golden as the sun, the world, the light, the warmth that we feel on our skin every single day, the sun that shines through every single window, the flowers that are slowly blossoming, ready for spring, the butterflies, the birds, the songs and the dance, what we hear through the air, the birds' songs, the land, the mountains, and I invite you all to embrace this. Open your heart and let us all unite. Let us all stand together, and together we are stronger. Together, with our arts, with our future, I would like us all to imagine building a better world of strength, friendship and unity. That is gold. That is golden. And that is why we are all golden. Everyone brings value. Everyone brings gold. Their spirit, their thoughts, their insights. And today we are all here as equals. There are no barriers. Today we have freedom. Today we embrace creativity. And today we feel safe, we feel respected, and we feel cared for. So let us all break through and let us all share in the gold, the heart, the kindness and the strength that we all hold regardless of where you are from. Today, the 10th of August, we walk together. We consider the golden path and we support one another. As we support one another, within this land we stand united, confident and proud of the community that we all serve. I acknowledge and respect everybody here. And before we wrap up, I would like to acknowledge those gone before us who have advocated the path to freedom, choice and control. Today, we enjoy those liberties and we continue to do so because of our forebearers, and with strength together, kindness and respect for one another. I wish you all the best, and I wish we all continue to maintain the faith that has got us to where we are, and the respect for each other, and the leaders that we have, and the love that we share. The time, ladies and gentlemen, is now. The time, folks, is now. Thank you all, and welcome and enjoy. Thank you. And, before I do finish, I have been a little bit travelled, and I am here finally. I did want to let you all know that I am introducing myself. Just a bit of a visual description: blue glasses, brown hair, blue pants and a jumper with a collared shirt. Thank you all. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for that incredible welcome. It was so generous and warm, and I think the sentiment of supporting each other is something that is deeply embedded within this conversation and is a perfect way to begin. Before we go into the conversation, I would like to thank Amy Mills, Development Manager and Arts Development Manager, and Liz Martin of Accessible Arts, Fame, and the whole team. It's been a wonderful, wonderful thing to work with you all, and I thank you for having these important, transformative conversations with your community, with our community. Thanks to Marnie and David for being Auslan interpreters today as well. I've been an audience member of many of these conversations, and it's a great honour to be up here on the stage with this beautiful panel. Today we will be exploring the theme of co-design in practice and really unpicking what that might mean and how we might do it as a sector better. How we might move beyond consultation and embed shared decision-making, collaboration, lived experience and access from the very beginning of a process rather than as an afterthought. We'll be hearing from two different approaches. One is coming through the Songsmiths program. So if you're an accessible arts fan, you'll know about this program already, but we'll dive into it in a moment. And another from Milk Crate. So both of these, Milk Crate being an organisation, Songsmiths being a program, but both centre the voices and experience of artists from diverse and underrepresented communities. So it's a really great way to begin this conversation. I'd like to introduce our panel. We have Felicity Nicol, who is Senior Artistic Associate for Milk Crate Theatre. Irene Zhong, composer, singer-songwriter and part of the development team for the Songsmiths program. And Leila Harris, composer, songwriter and musician, and one of the artists as part of the Songsmiths program. I just wanted to build a little bit of extra context around both these programs. So I'm just going to give you a bit of background. Then we will dive into the discussion, and at the end we will open up to questions. So if you feel like you need to write them down or keep them mentally in your head, have them ready for the end. And that will also come from online. So if you're online, you also have the ability to ask questions. So Songsmiths is a co-designed, disability-led songwriting program. It's first developed in 2022, so that gives you a sense of how long things can take, by Accessible Arts, Arts Victoria and APRA, AMCOS. Created by deaf and disabled musicians, the program has provided an accessible space for collaboration, mentorship, and creative development. In 2026, Songsmiths launched its pilot program with 9 participants across New South Wales who have worked together alongside experienced facilitators and writers to produce, write, arrange, and record original music. So something that's incredibly precious. Built through a 100% disability-led co-design process, Songsmiths demonstrates the possibilities when access is embedded from the very beginning. We've got a short video and we're going to show you, because sometimes that's what makes sense most. So let's watch the video together.
The aim of the Songsmiths program is to give songwriters with disability the tools, the resources, and the guidance they need in order to do their best work. And it's the result of a 100% disability-led co-design process.
Radically different to any other kind of songwriting program. Everyone has come in with such an open mind and an open heart, and has created a space for absolutely everyone to feel safe to make beautiful music.
This experience has given me such a lot of confidence in myself and my capability. There have been so many skills that I've been able to explore.
We don't always need to create pressured environments in order to make diamonds.
It's a blueprint for what happens when you give the appropriate resources, funding and support to any creative professional. It's not just important for people with disabilities. The systems and procedures and communication that gets put in place benefits everybody.
One of the driving forces behind the actual project itself was this idea that there is a massive untapped musical potential in the Australian music community.
That effect in this program is the strongest that I've seen anywhere. In any of my musical experiences, I am changed from this program. I really am.
Great video. Before we go any further, I also just want to give a little background on Milk Crate Theatre, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. So Milk Crate creates inclusive spaces where artists from diverse backgrounds come together to develop powerful and transformative performance works. Through meaningful creative engagement, artists build confidence, skills, and connection, supporting greater self-determination and future opportunities. Led by the voices and experiences of underrepresented communities, Milk Crate works with artists who may have experienced homelessness, disability, mental health, or cultural and linguistic barriers. Their work changes perspectives, explores important social issues, and uses storytelling as a tool for connection and change. Now let's get the conversation started. So to begin, I just want to ask the question, what does co-design look like in your particular practice, so of Songsmiths and in Milk Crate? And I'm going to hand over. Would you like to start, Felicity?
Yeah, sure, I would love to. Oh gosh, so in 2022 I joined a team of 6 co-designers, and I'll just take this time to shout them out because they were wonderful. This was Amber Wilcox, Rowan Brooks, Anae Paris, who is here, Fletcher Babb, Dan Pash, all 3 of you are here, and myself. We were led by the amazing Moena, who is here with us today. Just a font of knowledge. Moena is a disability and access consultant. We had 6 sessions over 3 weeks, and as Jess mentioned, we were all disabled and we were all musicians working in the industry. We had guest speakers come, I think, every session, and they were so invaluable to the process. It was like we were stirring this big cauldron of soup, and they each brought an ingredient. So we had Asphyxia, who spoke about deafness and songwriting. We had Z Naziro and Jerry Ijale Agbinya, who was from the Space Creators program, and they taught us about how to create this ambitious, competitive, yet culturally sensitive and humble program. We also had Gail Kennedy, who spoke about values to keep in mind when creating On Country, and values to be sensitive towards when collaborating with First Nations artists. So really similar to Milk Crate, we also had this vision of affecting social change through art and also the process of making art. We frequently revisited the cultural model of disability while we were co-designing and also in the consultancy stage. And I think it was just so incredibly empowering and subversive to frame our community as cultural makers instead of being subjects or at the mercy of what dominant media depicts us as, or the lack of depiction of disability. A key word through co-design was to provoke, which came to us from Dan. And we just kept circling this idea of provoking change, and we landed on the word redefinition. So we aim to provoke a redefinition in mainstream understanding of how viable and high quality music is made and who makes it.
Cool. That's great.
Yeah, so in reflecting on the practice, I think something that co-design looks like on the ground is that like we had to hold so much tension between these beautiful dreams that we had of what this program could look like, with that tension between those dreams and our lived experiences as disabled musicians in this really harsh industry.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Leila, do you want to talk to that about how it felt to be within that frame?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so, I think, beautiful to hear about the process that went into designing Songsmiths as a program, because I think as an artist participating in the program, you can absolutely feel the amount of care and thought and intention that goes into creating something that has such a big impact as something like this for me as an individual. And I think also it's something, the effects of that co-designed process of conceiving the program can absolutely be felt in every aspect of how it was then executed. And also I think particularly like something that we've been able to have lots of reflections on has been the relationships between the facilitators and mentors and the artists participating in the program, and how there was this really beautiful and unique extent of collaboration between the facilitators and mentors and the artists. And I think that that was uniquely allowed because of the intentional process of designing the program, and that is like just so appreciated as an artist accessing opportunities, and something I hadn't been able to experience to that extent before.
Oh, that's amazing. That sounds incredibly precious, and like collaboration kind of bled into the content out of the framework, which is kind of cool. Felicity, what about for you? What does it look like at Milk Crate?
Milk Crate. So Milk Crate's been around for over 25 years, and in that time we started, kind of on the doorsteps of, I think, the Matthew Talbot hostel, and it's kind of grown in terms of the varied communities that we're able to collaborate with, which is wonderful, but also means a huge range of needing to, I guess, humble yourself over and over again in terms of being able to meet people where they're at, and really look at how do you empower someone to give what they've already got inside them, rather
Yeah.
than upskilling them to an idea of what an artist is or what it means to be a part of an industry. So in that respect, there's a lot of unlearning and a lot of devaluing of hierarchy as much as possible, I suppose, in an artistic sense, in order to really be present with someone and value what it is that they have to share. In practice, it means a lot of time, as I think we all know within this room and beyond. A lot of time, generally, it means a lot of thought resources, and in the case of not having enough money to be able to dedicate to these things, creativity. Like, how do you think in different ways? How do you lean on different contacts in order to glean how people have done things before you? And then again, I guess towards the end of a process, always trying to return a bit to humility and to make sure whether or not people have actually seen it as truly co-designed. Like, do they feel like there is that sense of authorship or that sense of ownership over whatever's being created?
Yeah.
And that's ongoing. That's ongoing, and I think valuable to understand, as much as when you've kind of lost it or it hasn't quite worked out, what went wrong, and being able to take that as data and then reapproach.
Yeah, amazing. We kind of often think about, I mean, even in the most progressive spaces, access as being something that comes after a creative process has been developed or a framework has been developed. From your experiences, do you think that access could be seen as a form of co-design in and of itself, in understanding perhaps individual access requirements or what it might mean to be accessible?
Yes. Yes. I think access has to be co-designed. If not, it's imposed. If you haven't actually, done the research, had the conversation, so you're not taking ideas in the abstract and then, catering for who knows. If it's not co-designed, it's not going to work. And I think it gets sniffed out really, really quickly and easily, especially from the community or from a marginalised community. So yeah, I think co-design is mandatory in that respect, and understanding that it takes time to have those conversations, and that finding a way for that to be okay and baked into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Felicity, you said before, you mentioned authorship. This can be really complicated when we're in a any kind of collaborative model or co-design model. How does Milk Crate approach authorship? And I guess it's a process of learning, and so how are you learning and how are you continuing to improve that? Yeah,
absolutely. It's really hard, especially a lot of the larger works that we make are devised, so everyone owns it in a sense, everyone in the room. And so a lot of the time it can be a case-by-case basis and can depend on the art form itself as well. Something really simple. Ask participants how is it that they would feel that sense of ownership and that authorship. Something we always do. We pay our we pay our community artists, and whether or not that's just for a consultation or it's being a part of it from consultation through writing into performance, etc. And then signage that actually acknowledges their contribution and things like that. We're venturing a little bit into some screen-based work, and so we've had to, talk to arts law around IP in that respect, because it's this whole other incredible, scary ecosystem. And again, making sure whatever it is in discussion with people, I think, is the best way to go. A work that we're doing at the moment, Poverty Porn the Musical, coming October 2027. We wrote a manifesto with everyone in the group, and that's to talk about process, content, form, and like it's literally in there. We want to receive royalties for any songs that are made together, and it's like, well, that's clear, and being able to go back to that and be like, have we done this right?
Yeah.
And check it in to see if it's continuing to feel like the essentially the right vibe for the room and everyone in it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I mean, there's so much thought happening in that space. Big shout out to Terry Janke and the crew in relation to First Nations ICIP, and I think we can all learn a lot from the way that that's been framed. Irene, you've been involved in Songsmiths from the very beginning, in co-designing, mentoring, and then facilitating the pilot program. Can you talk us a little bit through this idea of learning and perhaps like what has been your learning trajectory from enduring this process as a result of this co-design process?
Yeah, I would love to. I think in the co-design process, like my biggest learning was that we really did have to get really messy and creative and courageous before we had neat little vision statements or could even submit anything to a funding body.
Shout out to the funding bodies. Hi, Craig.
Shout outs to funding bodies. Yeah, and with a group that was as diverse as us, we of course didn't always agree, and that was sometimes really difficult, like to be transparent, like when we didn't agree and when we misinterpreted each other in a lived experience space, it can feel extremely heightened. But then at the same time, the thing about diversity is that it also won us the day, because I think Morwenna did an amazing job in seeing that we each had strengths and had something different to offer.
Yeah.
So the ones of us who were better at coming up with the title of the program were given that task, and the people who could wrestle with mission statements were given those tasks. And there were just so many ways of contributing as disabled creatives. So that's my biggest learning with co-design.
Yeah.
Whereas as a consultant later with 10 professionals who were then brought in, it was really nerve-wracking to have our work be inspected. But actually, it was great to then put on that hat myself and think like, we're moving beyond the stage of dreaming. So now how can we make this thing alive? How do we breathe life into it? And I think it is so humbling, as Felicity was saying, that like humility is such an important quality in this creative process, in co-design. And like there comes a stage where we do have to just let the program evolve and change.
Yes.
And as for being a mentor, I think one of the, what's my biggest learning here? I think I might have to shout outs to Dean Nash, who is a participant of Songsmiths, who told me when we had wrap-up drinks that it's so important to celebrate, and to, instead of thinking about taking this program home to Melbourne and what tweaks could we make, I think it is so important to recognize the good work that we've done and let the nutrition, like the nourishment, really sink in. And actually that's a point of resonance I think Songsmiths has with Milk Crate as well, because the Milk Crate Theatre YouTube account, amazing plays, just a wonderful, there are so many stories from the community. And celebrating has two purposes, right? Because one, it makes you feel really good. But also, it's so important to measure your impact and to demonstrate it to people. Like we live in a community that we've been haunted by scarcity for so long. Let's celebrate it when we do have it good, which is more often than we think.
Yeah, absolutely. Celebration. Leila, I'm really interested in understanding from your experience what it has meant to sit in this space and what you feel like a disability-led co-design process and then program gets right that maybe mainstream music industry pathways might sometimes miss.
Yeah. Well, I think that I can speak for all of the Songsmiths artists who are participants in the program when I say that it was such a meaningful experience for all of us. And I think that for me, reflecting on the experience of the program, it was such a great lesson that when you're not trying to show up to work in a space suppressing a part of your identity or your needs, you're able to create things that completely surpass your expectations of what you're even capable of. And that it is so important to be able to have spaces where you're able to show up as your authentic self and voice your needs in terms of access, but also to be able to, I think when you have that level of trust that you're in a space where you're able to kind of work at your full capacity, you can also have much more trust in yourself as a creative individual. And then not only that, but when artists are given the time and space and resources to be able to create whatever they want. It was really quite a surreal experience because we were in the amazing studios at Brand X, and I think Irene and I had a joke that it was kind of like Uber for musicians, because you could just kind of say, oh, I'd really love this specific microphone. And then mysterious forces down the hallway would kind of just bring it to you, and it was amazing. And that's just kind of unheard of as an artist, let alone when you're applying for something specifically as a disabled artist.
Yeah.
So it was truly quite surreal. But I think for me, the biggest takeaway that I just really I want people to be aware of is how much capacity disabled artists have when they have the right support, and when the systems around them show belief and confidence in that capacity and ability. Because we all created such incredible things. So yeah.
Can I just prompt this a little more, because I think specifically your song, Leila, you took a huge gamble. And I think the systems and the facilities supporting you probably gave you, I'm not going to speak for you, but did it make you feel safe enough to spend an entire session just throwing around Post-it notes on the floor with me,
absolutely.
and not doing any actual
That was important.
Yeah, that was part of it. But it was a gamble.
It was a gamble. But I guess to flesh out what that looked like in practice a bit more, is that I went into this experience with kind of one goal, and that was if I had this opportunity, I wanted to create something that I couldn't make in my bedroom. And I absolutely achieved that. And I think I'm a very ambitious person generally, but I came in and it was day one, and I said to Ane, initially in my first session, that I wanted to play around with structure and form, and it was amazing because I've been in tertiary music education for so many years now, and it was amazing to have firstly someone just say, okay, let's abandon all concepts of, structure and do whatever you want. And I was oh, okay, there is no right or wrong in this space. And then my second session was with Irene, and we mapped everything out on multicolored Post-it notes and stuck them all over the floor and made this huge visual map of a song. And I ended up kind of making this huge sort of epic with strings and choral aspects and all this stuff, and it was huge, and definitely couldn't have made that in my bedroom. So
yeah, amazing. Do you feel like that's shifted your practice forever?
Absolutely, because I think not only has it shifted my, I mean, I said it in the video too, it's shifted my confidence in my capability, but I think it also really shows me that both in what I achieved, but also in looking at what everyone in the program achieved, not only, to clarify, not only the artist participants, but also obviously the intentions of all of the mentors and the people who conceived the program. I think it really shows that ambition is so rewarding, and that like we were all so held by one another in all of our visions and the convictions that like everything was possible. So yeah, I think that was really beautiful. And I loved when Felicity, like your, when you spoke about ownership and authorship, because I think what was so beautiful about Songsmiths is we each left with like individual products as artists, but it felt like there was this sense of co-ownership of I suppose the experience, and we kind of keep talking about the output of the program as an album, which I think speaks to kind of how cohesive it was as a really important personal experience, even though the creative outputs for each of us were really diverse and distinct.
Amazing. I mean, huge shout out to the creation of a program that can do that. That's not by accident. That's, there's a lot of hard work that's gone into that. Felicity, I'm really interested in Milk Crate has this really incredible approach to, as we were just talking about, like what is the impact, but then how do we measure it? So not only are we doing it, but then sort of how much are we doing it? I know there's been a big program around that Milk Crate's been developing. What do you think that a measurement of access might look like rather than a measurement of artistic output? Do you think that's something that would be, is that part of what Milk Crate thinks about, or,
Absolutely. In this respect, my wonderful colleague, Jess Pantano, should be up here, impact manager to the stars, who has been instrumental in rolling out kind of an Australian first, a way of measuring artistic impact in CACD, community arts, cultural engagement, across Australia. So it's
very
something,
important piece of work.
And something I think, the arts in general is often so ephemeral, or to those who aren't a part of it can be maybe feel wishy-washy or something else, but this is like scientific, this is data-driven, so you can't lie, it's real. And it also means, there are ways of using said data to be able to advocate for more and more funding, which I think is, so important and so incredible. I think measuring projects or programs via access rather than just artistic output is revolutionary. Like, it means if we did this, if this was accepted, this would be a change in social values in the country, like in everyday life, and something real and not just given mouthpieces, I suppose, not just spoken about. I think it would mean so many more interesting stories being told in so many more interesting ways, and we would not be struggling for audiences. They would see themselves in spaces that they never thought they could, and therefore come and tell people about it. It would be, that art would be in places that they already go to. It's not just, on beautiful stages such as this, which I also love, thank you. But it would be like waking up tomorrow and the world had changed. What a
How
gift.
great. we've kind of established now that co-design is the go, right? So now, do you have any practical tips for how everyone in this room might implement co-design? Like, how long does it take? What does it actually involve?
I think something we talked a lot about during Songsmiths co-design was, I'm going to unpack this a little, so just bear with me, but something that's accessible to everyone is accessible to no one. And I think that idea we were trying to get at was that access conflicts happen, and that egos can get involved very quickly, but a lot of the times we don't have it's not a perfect world yet, and we're aiming for something altogether. And I think back to the idea of access being so powerful when it is collaboratively designed. Letting go of that perfection can also be so powerful, because I think that's when our shared humanity and our empathy shines through.
Yeah.
And suddenly we're vulnerable people just trying to be people together.
Yeah.
Put that on a shirt.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think that's like the messiness and the frictions can be the point of co-design.
Yeah, we have a saying at UTP that a decision made is a good decision.
What was that, sorry?
A decision made is a good decision.
Yes.
Are there any tips as an artist of what you think you would like for future programs? What worked? How slow, or how, like, what kind of venue even? Like, what would be the perfect ingredients, I guess, or what is needed for a really good co-design process?
I think, like, what I would love for other musical experiences that I've had to kind of have from this experience is that I think, like, a co-designed experience requires a lot of trust in many ways, but I guess specifically when it's a question of co-design and access, I think it's trust that when someone voices their needs, that it's what they need to show up fully, and that it doesn't make you as an artist difficult to work with or less professional, and it doesn't make your capacity and ability lesser to have those needs and incorporate them into a collaborative working process. And it's something actually, like I've this year, after Songsmiths, had my first experience of leadership in kind of directing my first theatre show, and it's something that I've been able to learn from my experience in Songsmiths and bring into that like it feels like when you give people the trust to voice their needs, that then everyone is able to work to their full capacity. And I wish that more musical spaces acknowledge that, instead of, I mean, like, everybody in the whole world has access needs to varying extents. And so I think the more that people normalized voicing those, and I guess, you know, whether they're negotiable or non-negotiable, being able to have discussions around them is just really important. And I wish that, more spaces within the industry had that.
Great answer. Let's stay with you for this final question that we'll put to everyone on the panel. So get your questions ready out there, online and in the room. I really love this question. So how does co-design change how bold or provocative you think an artwork can be? You spoke before, Leila, to this idea that it really helped you break outside of that, a particular way of working. So I'd love to start with you on this question.
Yeah, I think that, I already talked about, I guess, like, the ambitiousness of what can be conceived and achieved, but I guess also in terms of how bold and provocative things can be, I guess it's a matter both of like collaboration of perspective and voice and experience that kind of enriches how bold things can be. And I think that that's, something that I really try to carry with me in collaborative spaces. And then reflecting specifically on Songsmiths as well, I think, again, I sort of speaking for all of the participants again, I feel like we all achieved something that was beyond the scope of what we maybe thought could be possible, or like we were kind of able to access more provocative and bold ideas because we had safety and security in what we would be able to accomplish, and not kind of be shut down for either like something being inaccessible or something maybe being seen as too ambitious or challenging, I guess.
Yeah, Irene, sometimes co-design is sort of meaning that you have to come to some kind of safe middle ground. Has that been your experience in the creation of this program?
Coming to a middle ground?
Yeah, I mean, bold and provocative, I think, can still be a middle ground. But does it feel like it still has a real spice to it that is really important, and a sort of driving reason for it to exist that is still really important to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the earlier question of what's different about Songsmiths with other programs is that as I've been a mentor and a mentee in other programs, but this is a humble brag, but never am I so sure of myself as when I worked in Songsmiths. I just kept going back to our vision of provoking a redefinition, and I kept going back to our values of equity and justice, and that informed every single thing I did. When I was preparing a Zoom workshop and deciding what to talk about, down to I'm working on this chord progression with someone, and what chords do I suggest?
Yeah.
It's so consistent and thought about that. I think that's where the spice is.
Yeah.
Because in other programs that I've been a part of, that's not really important. Those values, they might be on the website, but it's not.
It doesn't feel embedded.
No. And it's more about what product I come out at the end, less about how I get there and why I get there.
Yeah. Big shout out to the community arts cultural development sector, who have really championed process, of which Milk Crate is part of.
Nice segue.
Thanks.
Good.
I'm interested in this question though, because it can go both ways. Sometimes you can feel like a collaborative or a co-designed process, particularly if it's a process of making a work of art, can sometimes feel like it can maybe, it could be something that could feel less able to be provocative, or something that can also push you, and as a group you can kind of egg each other on to be more provocative. But do you feel like there's a place where Milk Crate has landed in relation to this?
No. No, in that I think, again, because each work, each major work, or each kind of collaboration or partnership is its own thing, and I think Milk Crate's good at understanding that and trying to always do its best to not have a kind of one-size-fits-all scenario, because that wouldn't work. That's just not co-design.
Yeah.
And I think co-design in and of itself is provocative, because if it's about dismantling power or power hierarchies.
Do you think it always means that? Do you think co-design is inherently dismantling power? Because I'd love it if it's true.
I would. Yes. In practice, not necessarily. I think in theory, or when done, when you can stand behind something and say, yes, that was it, that was the thing, that was the moment, 100%.
Yeah, cool.
And I think that's That's truly exciting. That's when you're going to see, yeah, a lot of beautiful, important difference, richness, and vitality in our sector, more so than there currently is. And yeah, I think that's wonderful and worth pushing for.
Absolutely. Yeah, great place to throw it out to our audiences. So we've got Slido for those online. So they will be read out. And do you already have one to read out?
Raise your hand if you have one.
Raise your hand, yes, if you've got it in person. Great.
Thanks, Deb. Thanks for sharing all your experiences. I've got a question for Irene and then a question for Leila as well. What was the process of selecting and how did you bring on the facilitators and mentors, and where can you hear songs?
The process for selecting the mentors and so how I was in the co-design because Arts Access Victoria put out a expression of interest, and I filled out that form, and I kind of at the time I didn't really know what it was about, and that's kind of how they asked me about what experience I have with co-writing songs, and what experience I have as a mentor, and that's how I co-designed the program. And then much later, there was an expression of interest for mentors now bringing the program to life. And I applied again. So that's kind of how I became a part of this program in all these different ways. Leila, how was it for you as a participant?
Yeah, sorry. There was also, I think I came across it on Instagram, an application process to apply as an artist. And as for how we can hear the songs, we got our first round of mixes back just last week, which was very exciting. And then I think just this morning we were discussing strategies around releasing the music. So,
cool.
Yeah, very exciting.
That's very cool.
Does that answer your question? Thanks.
Thank you. This is a question that's come through from our online audience, and it's for Felicity. How was access impact measured?
Can you repeat that?
Yes, please. That's all right. Hello.
How was access impact measured?
Oh, I see. In the program. Oh, how is access impact measured at Milk Crate?
Right.
That's a big question.
That is a big question. And Jessica. How is impact measured? In a myriad of ways. We have briefings with artists and debriefings, and then midway conversations as well. We do lots of kind of feedback and evaluation forms, and then also take a kind of measurement from the beginning for every artist about no matter what kind of program they're a part of. I feel like I should be talking to someone, but this is an online question.
It's an online question. There's a camera up the back.
And all of those questions are not only about their well-being and how they kind of feel they fit in society in some ways, but also their own sense of practice and artistry and creativity, and then we look at what they responded to start with, and then potentially at the midway point, if we do that, depending on the length of the program or project, and then also at the very end, we'll then also have a full debrief with everyone that's involved, including our community artists. And then also we do audience measurements in terms of what they thought and whether or not it changed any of their opinions around any of our target community groups.
Yeah, it's a big question. I mean, access is, impact is something that I think the whole sector is grappling with how to measure. And I think in order to do better and also get grants.
Right?
So, yeah, I mean, but Milk Crate really is leading the way. Just, is there anything that you wanted to add? Oh, okay. Okay, is there anything that can we pass the mic back to Jess before we go to the next question?
So this is the
she might
first
just
time.
want to add something.
This is the first time that there's been a national impact measurement kind of project in Australia, and it's a way to kind of standardise questions so that not everyone is asking their own impact questions in silo, but rather what are the questions we're all asking, or we all should be asking, so that across the board we can rate our impact in Milk Crate versus somebody's impact in Perth, for example, and that's doing something similar.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I'm Jess. I'm the Impact and Comms Manager from Milk Crate. It's actually my last week at Milk Crate, so if you have any questions, please email me. It's jessica@milkcratetheatre.com. Yeah, we have a big project at the moment. We've been running it since 2024. It's called Creating Impact, and it brings together funders, arts organisations around the country, and an impact consultant company as well. And we're basically co-designed a shared impact framework. So the framework is modular. We're all asking, for the sake of the project, certain data sets, so maybe 5 to 10 questions for the sake of it, but it's intended to be modular. So because we're all different, we're all doing the same kind of thing, but we work in different art forms, we work with different communities. So right now we're in the pilot implementation, so everyone's testing the framework in real time with their communities, and we're learning a lot. So the project will end next year, and we'll have 2 reports. One will be about the data that's come through, or the value of community engaged arts and that story, and there will be another report about the process. So we're hoping that funders will realise, if there's any funders in the room, if you could talk to each other more and ask us all the same thing. Just to show how co-design can work across the country for community engaged arts organisations, but also in impact evaluation, how we can tell our stories better, how we can get the impact stories back to community, most importantly. But how do we filter it up to funders to make it easier for very busy at capacity organisations?
Thanks, Jess.
I hope that made sense.
Let's go to this question here.
Hey, I'm Bart. I was one of the facilitators at Songsmiths as well. Hey. Cool. This is more just add a layer to what you guys are saying, and then maybe you guys can speak about it. I feel like the real strength of the Songsmiths program that I have been thinking ever since we finished, what was it that made it so impactful and made it feel like it did? And I really think it was the co-design, but co-design at the point of inception, and co-design to the very last day of the program. We came together, and I think the courage inherent in putting this together was that there was a lot of hands-off. There was not prescriptive at all. We all came together on the first day of stage 2, which was us in the studio. And there was really no, there was no top-down prescription about how we were going to actually make the music, how we were going to work together, who was going to work with who. We all came together and were given the space and the time for that process to emerge organically, and with a complete, even though there were, Dan was there as the coordinator, and Fletch was the right-hand man, and then we had facilitators, and then we had participants. There was no hierarchy whatsoever. It really was as flat a formation as you could imagine. And the way of working just sort of emerged, and so we had the first 3 days, and then the first 3 days were the sort of like feeling each other out and starting to develop ideas for songs and things. And the co-design for the entire program, in a global sense, was done before, and then the co-design for the actual process, I really feel, was done to a large extent, like, not to diminish, and like, I think this was just actually the strength of it, was done there in the rooms.
Yeah.
And I think that is what made it so powerful. And when you're talking about concepts of authorship and ownership, like, that is really what made it fit, because it was right, it wasn't just the music that we made. Process was content in this whole thing. And I think especially Felicity, what you were talking about with, you know, if we can embed these values right at the beginning of the design process, that is revolutionary. That is, I really think, is a antidote to what ails us at the moment. Because essentially at base, it's kindness. It's kindness, and everyone can benefit. You know, everyone has access needs, and everyone suppresses things when they're in these high pressure environments, you know, parts of themselves. So yeah, anyway, co-design all the way through.
Love it. Amy, how are we going for time?
Maybe one more online.
Great, let's do it.
How do we approach collaboration when designing programs that involve participants who have extremely varied capacity to verbalise their artistic interests and desires? Open
Can you just do the first part of that question again? How do you design a program when
How do you
needs are so
approach
different?
collaboration when designing programs that involve participants who have varied capacity to verbalise?
To verbalise their
artistic interests and desires.
Cool.
I think that's a great question, and I think also extends to, I think not just their creative interests potentially, but access needs. I'm someone who came to disability later in life, and I continue to struggle to know what I need and how to frame it, and I think that's possibly... Access changes daily, sometimes by the minute, so making that okay, firstly. And I mean, I suppose having as many examples as possible of what is possible for your program, for your collaborative artists, your community artists, whomever, what is possible in terms of your budget to begin with, in some respects, and your own knowledge. If you have people already within a leadership position running a program directly to people, you know, if they're not a songwriter and people become interested in songwriting, that needs a rethink. And then I guess also if you've run a similar program before, showing what those outputs have been to give examples. It's and not being afraid to say, like, to continue to check in if this is still fulfilling them, if this is still the direction that they want to go, and saying that that's okay. Like, really wanting them to invest in whatever their line of inquiry is, and the art form itself, that can shift, and that's fine.
I'm really excited by this question, because I think for this, it's in two parts. So one is that we need those people in the co-design room. Like, we need those people. And because if we're in the co-design room and we can't even reach emergent verbal communicators, if we can't even communicate with them there, then how do we expect to design a program that is accessible for them? So would love to have those people in the co-design. And part 2 of my little spiel I've gotten on my soapbox, is that I think it's a huge problem in the Western construction of ableism, in that we prioritize being verbose and being articulate. And so, even within disability arts, highly articulate neurodivergent people, such as myself, we end up being the spokesperson, and less verbal people are at the bottom of the hierarchy, and that's a huge issue. So yes, I would love to see co-design start to address that and shift the narrative and give power back to people who get forgotten.
Great point.
Oh, I didn't really have anything more to contribute. I just knew Irene would have a really awesome answer. I was trying to...
Well, that's a beautiful place to end. Liz is going to talk to us now. Liz Martin, CEO of Accessible Arts. Take it away.
Thanks so much. And thanks everyone for joining us on this chilly afternoon, and thanks to our wonderful panel. So Dr. Jessica, Felicity, Irene and Leila, thank you so much for your time and your valuable insights. I loved the conversation and learnt so much, and was reminded of so many beautiful elements to think about when we are creating together and collaborating together. I want to say a beautiful, deep thanks to Daniel McDonald for the warm welcome to country, and a massive thanks to our venue partners here at the ACO and their wonderful team, Tara Smith, Bianca Astwood, Abby Keys, Reese Davies, our streaming partner, Live Crowd, beaming us out across the country. Thank you so much. Our Auslan interpreters at Authentic Access and the captioners at Captioning Studio. I want to say a huge thanks to the Accessible Arts team, which they bring collaboration and co-design every day and go on above and beyond to deliver such beautiful work. So a huge shout out to Amy Claire Mills, Libby Forsyth, Rachel Musgrove, Daniel Jaramilla, Michelle Tier, Ava Lacoon and Dan Pash, especially his work in Songsmiths, which we've been talking about. Thanks to the board, thanks to our funders at Create New South Wales, Music Australia and Sound New South Wales. Massive thanks to you all for coming, whether you're tuning in online or coming into the ACO this afternoon. A little heads up, our next event will be at the Art Gallery of New South Wales and is a massive celebration for us because we're turning 40.
Woohoo! 21 again.
Some of us are older than 40.
Only just.
Just. So please come, pop it in your calendar. We will be streaming it as well. The 14th of October, Art Gallery of New South Wales. There's going to be one of these kind of things, but there will also be some other secret spicy things to add in. Some, maybe a workshop, maybe a tour, stuff like that. We'll announce it soon, but we'll be doing that one in partnership with the Art Gallery of New South Wales, and it will be one of their Art After Hours nights. So please come and celebrate with us. Cool. And if you're in the room, please stick around now. We have some snacks and some drinks. We will be, I think, at the end of this hall down to your left as you leave. Stick around, have a chat with the panellists and with each other, and let's hang out. Thanks so much, everyone. It's been lovely.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was so much fun. Thank you.